Hello, hi, it's me, Lene, and I'm back once again to talk about another topic that I like, but today's going to be a little bit of a breakdown of Doctor Who in this 15th season. If you didn't know, I'm a big Doctor Who fan. Doctor Who is one of my long-standing fandoms. I've been a fan of Doctor Who since I was 11, and I've kept up with the show, honestly, kind of faithfully for every year that it's come out. I know some of the classic episodes. I don't know all of them because that's like impossible, but I like Doctor Who. Partly this video came up because I've been watching the new season and I'm currently on episode 7 of this series. But then the Doctor Who social media decided to post a spoiler of the end of this season, which I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. And I say that sarcastically because I have been burned by the Doctor Who social media account far too many times. I've followed them, I've unfollowed them, I've followed them, I've unfollowed them because they keep spoiling things. I don't know why they can't even give it just like a month to post a major spoiler. Like, that's usually what most social media does. Marvel, Star Wars, they just post it the night of. And it's just like so jarring. When I found out what the spoiler for this current season was, it basically ripped the joy of watching any of the rest of the episodes because it was a major failure on their part and honestly ruins the rest of the show. I'm gonna get into that, but I had decided that I wanted to make a video on each episode that came out this season, and I have been doing that in my notes app. I've been watching along. So yeah, I was taking notes and kind of just like following along per episode, but it was split into 2 parts. So basically the first part came out and then just this past week they released the new season and I was watching it and then they spoiled it for me. So fun. I was literally almost caught up and now it's like, okay. Anyways, I thought that I would really talk about this because I don't really talk about Doctor Who that much, but it is a big love of mine and I just am baffled by the decisions of their team. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm not going to talk too much about season 1 because I don't really remember, but again, I felt like there were standout episodes. For instance, I really liked The Devil's Cord. I know not everybody did, but like it was just fun. It was campy. It was good. There's a song in that one too, which I liked Boom, I think. I think I remember that. I liked Yards. I liked Dot and Bubble. I liked Rogue. And that was it. I liked those episodes, but I felt the direction that Doctor Who was going in. Space Babies, horrible. Not a fan of that. Yeah, but I kind of liked the direction that we were going in, and you know, I was here for it. I was just ready to see what we were getting. Also, again, I can't say this enough, but like Ncuti is just such a good doctor. Like, they just sell it. They're charming, but they have moments of rage and they have moments of sadness, and it's just like so good. Like, in just these 2 episodes, even the ones that have bad writing, I never am not interested in what the doctor is doing because of the way that Ncuti just embodies this character. So like, I was really happy about that, and just something about seeing the first Black Doctor Who is just like incredible. So I was like down for it. I was like, I'm whatever, like let's keep this going. Season 2, which we'll talk about. Now we're gonna get to my notes because I actually have them. The first episode, The Robot Revolution, all of a sudden we introduced Belinda Shanra, who is another companion, which feels weird considering Ruby Sunday isn't exactly done and she keeps popping up in this season. And it just felt like, okay, so now we have a new companion, cool. Ruby Sunday was short-lived, okay. And it's kind of an AI generator. The topics are a little heavy, but I honestly liked the kind of practical nature of the bots. I love the reveal. And we kind of got this like cool cyborg, cybermen aspect, which I really love the cybermen. So anything that's kind of similar to that, I'm gonna enjoy. And one thing I did right was that the cinematography and the lighting in this season is really good. I liked that aspect, something that I didn't really see as much in the last season, but like this season, I just really liked what the camera was doing, which is just interesting. I was like, this is really cool. So I was into that. And then number 2, we have Lux, which takes place in a movie theater. I actually really like this aspect. Again, it's in Miami. We've got Art Deco. I felt like it was very like inventive. Love the cinematography. Loved kind of like the meta moment with the Doctor Who fandoms. And I always love an introduction of like the Agents of Chaos and like Dodds, because I think that really brings in the classic Doctor Who. So I really liked this episode. I liked where it was going. It was interesting. It had a little bit of fun. It was a little campy. Really great moments of seeing kind of Belinda interact with the Doctor. And again, they do have really good chemistry, but despite it being just the 2nd episode, I see their chemistry evolving, and it's interesting, which I liked. And again, one cool thing about Belinda is that she's not as interested in going and traveling to space. She's very much like, I'm trying to get home. Let's get home. Let me get home. And that is interesting in a sense, right? Because like I was wondering, oh, what's she getting home to? What's interesting to her at home? Like what is she doing? Do we get that question answered? Does she become an underwritten and undervalued female character once again? Okay, number 3, The Well. I put well written, very well. A callback to a previous episode from the 10th Doctor. I really liked it, and I just liked the concept. The only thing that I did say was it didn't have a true ending. The villain was not ended. So that was kind of interesting to me, cool. I really like this episode, and I want to just see who wrote this episode in series 15. Let's see. So then we have 4, which is Lucky Day. This is kind of an episode that the Doctor is not in, and we get Ruby Sunday coming back in again. I put that it was a good twist for a villain and take on incel culture and social media and activism. Incel culture also comes up again in episode 1, that first episode with Belinda Chandra. I did say yes, girl boss, justice server. Ruby Sunday drives me crazy. Like, how are you this naive and 100% good? I think my main issue with many of the companions is that they are too nice for me and very Disney princessy. They are almost like infantilized women, which that is a Russell T Davies issue and something that I've said before. He writes women as if they are so naive, and then all of a sudden they're so brave because they're standing up, and he just writes them so one-dimensional. To me personally, I don't like it, and I truly think that we need to delve into why he writes women this way, because it's so flatlined to me. It drives me crazy. However, in the end, inviting Conrad into the TARDIS just felt like a reward for him, and I don't know what it means to make a white man a villain so close to this world. Like, why give him more attention? I want to talk a little bit about that, because I agree, especially with Ncuti being the Doctor. They're a black person, and I just feel like we keep devaluing what it means, not only for black characters in this world, to keep having white villains. We had a white villain in the first season. It's just annoying to me. I think that we could do more. Like, why is it always that every time we have characters of color, they have to fight white people? We have aliens. We have aliens. Can I please get something besides just a basic white man? Let's remove that. I'm not saying that we were removing politics from the story. That's not what I'm saying. I think that we can have an interesting conversation on racism, class consciousness, all of these things without including white men. We have allegories. We have symbolism. Why do we keep doing that? It just drives the story just so into nothing. And or if you want to use racism, find interesting ways to say something. But we just keep going to the same point, like, he's a white man and he's an incel, and incels are bad. But we don't make the case as to why they're bad and what our culture does and how insidious we are for uplifting white men. Like, it's just so... And that gets me into the monologue that Ruby Sunday gets into in Wish World, where she's like, how did Conrad become the leader of the world? He's just so nothing. Babes, Conrad's the leader of the world because we uplift white men. Bah! Like, it's just so tone deaf to me. It feels like anyways, okay. So at episode 4, they basically paused the series, and then that was our part 1, and then this past week part 2 came out, so that's episode 5 through 8. So we get to episode 5, and I really like this episode. It's called The Story in the Engine. It's set in Lagos, Nigeria. The first time ever, I think, that Doctor Who has been set in Lagos, I believe. Just a really interesting episode. I put kind of incredible that this is one of the first few times that we've seen other Black characters on screen, and the first time that we've really been in Africa. In this episode specifically, they use Anansi, which is just like a cool African folk tale and a god in the story, which just kind of helps with the themes of what they've been doing with other gods, and kind of weaving that into this tale. And I feel like it was really powerful. I also put that I felt like this episode really had Ncuti to thank for it, because we finally got Ruth back for a second. But again, will Ruth ever have more stories? Like, we just keep using Ruth as a throwaway doctor, which is sucky because she is a Black woman, and I just feel like it's just such a cop-out to only have her in one episode and then never show her again. I honestly put that this is a standout episode from production, writing wise, and a good episode about redemption, community, and identity. And I feel that way. However, at this point, I had been spoiled by what happens in episode 8, and it just kind of felt like a cop-out. Like, it felt almost like, you know, you're dangling a carrot in my face, like, hey, look, come look, a really fun episode set in Lagos with like Black characters and like a cool doctor, and it just sucks. It sucks to keep doing this, because again, this is the only episode like this in the entire season, and then we just move on. And when we get to episode 6, it's like we're not even watching the same show, because Russell T Davies goes way too fast in his arcs. Again, Belinda has not been utilized at all, but okay. So we get to episode 6, which is called the Interstellar Song Contest. And in this episode, I truly felt like Belinda was a different character. All of a sudden, she, forget about her nursing skills, not used. She's very whiny. There's again something about racism, but not racism against Black people, racism against other aliens called the Hellions, which, okay, got it. And that is something that could be interesting. However, in this season 2, we have a white man who's the villain. So I thought we were sticking with that, but we're not. And okay, there's Hellions. There are many different, their race. There's many different skin colors of Hellions and ethnicities. Or, okay, wait, let me rephrase that. Hellion, the more I think about it, Hellions are an ethnicity, not a race, I think, in this world, okay? But Hellions, because of their ethnicity, are racially profiled because of their horns, and that's what makes them angry people. However, the Hellion who decides to take revenge is white, and their partner is also white, but the one that is good is Black. And will she be a one-dimensional and throwaway character? Yes. Okay. All right. So then we have that all in one episode that takes also place in like an intergalactic song contest. And then at the end, all of a sudden we get our second villain, or third villain rather, because it's another time lady who regenerates into 2 people. But before that, she was a white woman, but now she's not a white woman. So, okay. I also want to say about this episode, I had no idea who Rylan was. It was so, I was like, who is Rylan? And then I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is a British celebrity that I don't know about. I would love the camp nature of this episode if it wasn't just written so badly. And oh, another thing that I thought was interesting is that we get a very like almost kind of vengeful doctor, which personally I'm a really big fan of. Let's have a little bit of vengeance. Again, Russell T Davies writes every single character in a Disney-ified way. I like Disney, but I don't think that that's really the concept of Doctor Who, nor what Doctor Who is about. And he's really against the Doctor being violent. And I can understand glimpses of that because the Doctor has this like thorough line of not being as vengeful as he used to be when everything happened with Gallifrey and his planet, and you know, there's a lot of violence there. But if any time to be vengeful would have been in this moment, in what happens, and the writing is just bad, and we don't get that. And Belinda's like all of a sudden this girl who's like, no, like, no, Doctor, you can't. And it's like, where did that come from? She's becomes so whiny. And this is what I mean with Russell T Davies. He writes a character that could have some strength, but anytime we're dealing with women of color, he just throws them away. It happened to Martha. It happened to, and this is maybe just Doctor Who in general, not just Russell T Davies, but it happened to Martha. It happened to Billy. It happened to, you name a character of color on Doctor Who, that's what's gonna happen, and it sucks. And the white women get the attention in the show. Like Ruby Sunday, let's get to episode 7. So Ruby Sunday comes back in. Why is Belinda here? At this point, we could have just had Ruby Sunday be the other companion in the show. It adds nothing to just have Belinda there and not give her any context and not give her anything and not give her any family and not give her any personality for Ruby Sunday. That's, again, so strange to me. Now we're getting into the second to last episode, episode 7. The first thing that I did say though is it's an interesting concept, but we've already discussed this. The Doctor hiding with a wife and a kid and forgetting. Like, amnesia Doctor is so common, it's annoying. This is also the first time we've seen Belinda's family, and it's just kind of thrown away, which I don't understand. Which I agree, like, we've done Amnesia Doctor in this new season so much at this point, and it is kind of a Russell T Davies thing that is just becoming redundant. How many times can the Doctor forget and then remember, forget and then remember, forget and then remember? It's getting to the point where I'm like, at least if you're gonna do amnesia, make it interesting. But this is not interesting. And we have this throwaway character that comes in, Jonathan Groff. Okay, so Jonathan Groff, and I had to look this up because I truly did not remember who this character was at all. So in the last season, in episode, this past season, episode 7, called Rogue. It's pretty good, I mentioned it. Jonathan Groff shows up as a character who is not straight, right? And the Doctor falls in love with them. Interesting. Do we see this character ever again? Not until the season finale of the next season. Just wild, because they could have made this person a companion, but they just did it, and then they just had like a throwaway like reference. What did I like about this episode? Not much. And again, oh, you know what? I did like that Poppy is cute. I think that Poppy's really cute. Someone that is the Doctor's daughter. And it's an interesting idea, right?
While editing, I did realize that Poppy is the same baby from last season, season 14, I think episode 1, Space Babies, which is not a great episode, and it is written by Russell T Davies, but that is the same baby. So I don't know what that means for the next current seasons or who she becomes. And like I said, I did like her, but I feel like we needed more of a thread of Poppy throughout the season because she just comes out of nowhere. And I feel like this was a loose end that could have been more structured, and it just fell flat to me.
But again, she was just introduced way too late in the season. We have way too many things happening. We've got like 17 different concepts, and we needed a little bit more structure and a little bit more focus. And Russell T Davies never does that. And I should say every time he's written recently. I think that his episodes in the past have been okay, although I still have the same thing that I would say about the way that he writes women. That's a concept for another time. But I feel like let's hang it up. Let's get new writers. So if you notice kind of an interesting pattern, and what I think about Russell T Davies is that he can kind of write like 1 or 2 good episodes a season. Like if he does standalone episodes, I find that I like them. But if he's the main showrunner, I feel like overall he doesn't create a good narrative story or a thread of the two. And that's something that I just felt. I felt the same thing about season 14. And the episodes that I really liked were usually directed by different people and written by different people. Like I truly think that the star of this season was episode 5, which was written and directed by a completely different team. And I believe this might be the first time that it was written by a Nigerian person, because I do not think that has been done before. And this writer Barbershop Chronicles, a play set in black barbershops in 6 cities on one day against the backdrop of a football match. Oh, that's really cool. Which kind of like mirrors what this episode is, because it takes place in a barbershop. And I really like that. I'm gonna have to read this. I'm gonna get into the spoiler that I want to talk about. And then that's gonna be a wrap. Yeah, let's just talk about the spoiler. Again, Doctor Who social media. Please stop. Just wait. I'm begging, just wait a month, because truly it ruined watching the rest of the show for me to know what the spoiler was. So, at the end of this, episode 8, the end of the series, the Doctor regenerates. Okay? And that already feels way too fast. I think we could have done at least with 1 to 2 more seasons of Ncuti. I don't know what the situation is on that. Maybe they wanted to be out of the show. I don't know, and honestly can't blame them at this point. They've been nothing but nice, and like they've talked really kindly about Doctor Who and everything, but I just know what goes on behind the scenes, and it seems like almost every doctor wants to get out at this point, and I don't know why that is. But yeah, so they regenerate, and I'm just gonna read this synopsis. The season 8 synopsis is: the Doctor is rescued by Anita, who pulls him into the Time Hotel as the time resets to May 23rd, 2025. The Time Hotel was introduced in the Joy to the World series, which was the special, the Christmas special. So with Anita's help, the Doctor is able to restore the memories of Unit and Belinda before the Rani reveals that the surviving Time Lords are sterile. She intends to use Omega as a gene bank to rebirth her race. The Doctor confronts the Rani as Omega is released in the form of a massive beast who devours the bi-regenerated Rani. Mrs. Flood escapes as the Doctor uses the Vindicator to force Omega back into the Underverse. Ruby uses Desiretum's power to give Conrad new life and restore reality, but at the cost of Poppy being erased while the baby god is adopted by Carla Sunday. Despite the 13th Doctor, who was popped out of her timeline, trying to talk him out of it, the Doctor uses the power of his next regeneration to shift reality so that Poppy is Belinda's daughter. After saying goodbye to Belinda and Poppy, the Doctor exclusively appears to regenerate into a form resembling his previous companion, Rose Tyler. So, Conrad gets new life. Why? I don't know. Conrad is also a villain in this episode, and like a white man who just has like nothing. But I guess we gotta save everybody. Okay. So Carla Sunday is Ruby Sunday's mother. She's a black woman, and another character that I want to talk about because I truly feel like the way that they wrote her feels like misogynistic. She has raised Ruby Sunday from like, birth, and she's like not the warmest person. Like her character switches, right? Like every episode I feel like if she loses her memory or something happens, she just like turns in Ruby Sunday. She's like bye girl, or she's like, get out the house, I'm kicking you out. Every episode she kicks this girl out. And it is weird that they make her so cold and harsh and just like flippant about just like, I'm gonna drop you off, girl. And the excuse is always like, oh, well, she forgot her memory or she doesn't know what she's doing. But it's just like, why? Why though? And then she adopts this like god, I guess, because all that she's good for is being a mother. And that's literally her whole character arc is like, oh, she's a mom and she like picks up adopted children. Like that's all she cares about. But she's not a good parent. It's weird. It's bad writing. Belinda takes care of Poppy and is Poppy's mother now. When again, I've talked about at length of how I feel like Belinda's character was thrown away. And again, not only that, but she's a woman of color. This woman has never in...
So, unfortunately, the rest of that footage got corrupted. But essentially, I was just saying that I feel like throughout the series, we've kind of just made Belinda a throwaway character. She's never talked about motherhood. She's never talked about caregiving or wanting children. And I just feel like to make her Poppy's mother all of a sudden just devalues her character. And also, we completely abandon her whole nursing aspect and how much she loves that job. Like, it just felt like, again, the only purpose for a woman is motherhood. And I have felt that so much in the past 2 seasons with the writers. And it just feels upsetting that that's what they think. And like, again, like it feels like sexism. And it's just weird to me. Unfortunately, the other part of my corrupted video was when I was talking about the Doctor's regeneration into Billie Piper or Rose Tyler. And I was just saying how disappointed I was by it, to be honest. I feel like we could have had at least one more season with this current Doctor. It felt like it came too soon. And then also on top of that, to get a companion as the Doctor, especially one that's from the 10th era, which I feel like these writers, these current showrunners love to go back to that season. It just feels like a nostalgic cash grab. And I also really feel like it devalues everything that these past 2 seasons were trying to build. It devalues this new Doctor who happens to be black and the first black Doctor ever. Like, it just devalues everything, and it's just such a baffling decision on all fronts as to why they thought they should do that. I would have preferred if the Doctor would have regenerated into Ruth, which is technically one of the first Doctors, but not really first black Doctors. But they didn't, and it just makes no sense.
And in some ways, I think the choice, it feels like stunt casting, right? Which can only last so long. And even if they somehow manage to make, you know, Rose Tyler just the Doctor for 2-3 episodes, is that novelty really worth defaming the name of Doctor Who for? It just feels so like hollow and just not interesting in terms of writing. I haven't really seen a lot of people who are excited about this, and I truly do think that it backfired for them. Now, the Doctor Who fandom is pretty like complainy, I will say. I'm usually like a go with the flow type of person. I don't really care, but I do agree that this is like kind of a bad decision, because no matter what, it's gonna ring hollow for the next couple of seasons or couple of years. Maybe this was a more corporate move because they needed a higher audience following. I don't know. But it just feels not redeemable. You know what I mean? However, I would encourage all of you, if, you know, the good thing is that there's a lot of seasons of Doctor Who, so you can go back to the classic episodes and watch them. I know I will. I have a couple things I need to catch up on. Also, fun thing about this, it has all my change in it. This came from a Yahtzee Doctor Who game, and I just took out the dice, and this is all mine.